Ladies and gentlemen, I begin with a bold truth: you are not being held back by the world, by your boss, your bank account, your background, or your circumstances. You are being held back by the standards you have accepted for your life. Change your standards, and you can change your destiny. Every result in your life is a reflection of what you've decided is acceptable. Whether it's the state of your finances, your relationships, your career, or your health, these are not just outcomes, they are mirrors of your internal standards. You don't get what you want, you get what you tolerate. Many people desire success, happiness, or wealth, but few have raised their standards high enough to require those things from themselves. There is a vast difference between wanting something and having a standard that says, "This is the minimum I will accept." Consider this: if someone's standard is to just get by, they'll find a way to survive, but if their standard is to thrive, lead, and grow, their behavior will follow suit. They'll think differently, speak differently, and act with greater purpose. The truth is, our standards act like a personal operating system. They silently guide our decisions, set our limits, and determine how much effort we give when no one is watching. Most people aren't stuck because they lack talent or opportunity. They're stuck because they've settled. Their standards are low not because they consciously chose them, but because they were inherited from their upbringing, shaped by their environment, or beaten down by past failures. The good news is, those standards are not permanent. They can be raised at any moment by choice. When you decide that average is no longer acceptable, your behavior starts to change. You begin showing up earlier, speaking with more conviction, taking risks you once avoided, and refusing to settle for anything less than excellence. Life doesn't give you what you dream about, it gives you what you demand of yourself. And when your standards rise, everything around you begins to rise as well. Nothing meaningful begins without desire. It is the fire that ignites all progress and transformation. Before any change can happen in your external world, a shift must occur within, and that shift starts with wanting something more. Desire is not a casual wish or vague preference. It is a deep, burning hunger for improvement, growth, and achievement. Without it, there is no fuel to take action, to persist, or to raise your standards. People often say they want a better life, but most of the time, their desire is too weak to push them beyond what's comfortable. Real change only begins when you become emotionally dissatisfied with where you are. It's when you say, "This is no longer enough," and you mean it that transformation becomes possible. When your desire becomes so intense that it feels like a necessity, not a luxury, you begin to think differently, prioritize differently, and act with urgency. Desire creates clarity. It forces you to define what you really want, not just what sounds good. It sharpens your vision and activates your willpower. Once your desire is strong enough, obstacles start to shrink. Excuses fade. Energy appears, and your standards begin to rise, because now you're reaching for something that matters deeply to you. History's greatest achievers didn't start with resources or connections, they started with desire. A clear, unstoppable vision of what must happen. That kind of desire becomes a magnet for action, opportunity, and growth. If you want to raise your standards and get anything you want, you must first want it badly enough. It has to matter more than your fears, your doubts, and your current comfort. Only then does your life begin to rise to meet the power of your intention. One of the most powerful shifts a person can make in life is deciding that failure is no longer an option. When you truly raise your standards, you don't give yourself room to fall back on excuses, backup plans, or half-hearted efforts. You commit with such intensity that the only outcome you accept is progress. It's the same mindset that legendary leaders and entrepreneurs have adopted throughout history. They remove the safety net and burn the boats, leaving themselves no choice but to succeed. Most people struggle not because they lack ability, but because they leave too many doors open. They say they want success, but they also keep a door open to comfort, to laziness, or to giving up. When challenges appear, they retreat. But when you've raised your standards so high that asterisk failure is unacceptable asterisk, something remarkable happens. Your brain finds a way. Your creativity, resourcefulness, and persistence come alive because they have to. This level of commitment requires courage. It means putting yourself in a position where the only way out is through. It means cutting ties with the old version of you, the one who hesitated, doubted, or procrastinated. The decision to eliminate failure as an option rewires your self-image. You begin to see yourself as someone who finishes what they start, no matter what. That identity is powerful. When you raise your standards to the point where failure is not even part of the equation, your habits change. You work longer, think deeper, and move faster. You stop waiting for the right moment and start creating it. You become relentless, focused, and disciplined because you've decided that anything less is no longer acceptable. And in that space, results become inevitable. The results you achieve in life are always in alignment with the identity you hold about yourself. Your standards are shaped by who you believe you are, and that belief becomes the ceiling for your actions, choices, and achievements. If you see yourself as someone who is just average, you will unconsciously act in ways that reinforce that identity. But when you raise your standards, what you're really doing is reshaping your identity at the core. Your identity is the most powerful driver of behavior. People don't stay consistent with their goals, they stay consistent with their identity. That's why someone who sees themselves as a disciplined, hyper-forming individual will naturally wake up early, stay focused, and follow through, while someone who sees themselves as lazy or inconsistent will continue to prove that belief true through their actions. It's not willpower, it's alignment. When you decide to raise your standards, you are choosing to become a new version of yourself. This is not about pretending or faking confidence, it's about embodying the habits, mindset, and energy of the person who already lives at that higher standard. You stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "Who must I become to live this way every day?" Change begins the moment you stop identifying with your limitations. The person who says, "I'm just not a confident speaker," or "I've never been good with money," is reinforcing an outdated identity that blocks growth. But the moment you say, "I am becoming someone who speaks with power," or "I now handle money with intelligence and purpose," your mind and actions begin to shift. You do not need to wait for results to believe in a new identity. You need to believe in a new identity to produce new results. Your environment plays a powerful role in shaping your standards, often more than you realize. The people you spend time with, the conversations you hear, and the expectations around you quietly influence what you believe is possible and acceptable. If you are surrounded by individuals who accept mediocrity, complain about their circumstances, or make excuses for inaction, it becomes incredibly easy to lower your own standards to fit in, not because you intend to, but because humans are wired to adapt to their surroundings. Raising your standards often begins by raising your environment. When you place yourself among people who are striving for more, who think bigger, act boldly, and live with discipline, you start to elevate your own expectations without even trying. Suddenly, what once seemed difficult becomes normal. Success stops feeling like a far-off dream and starts to feel like the standard. This is why high achievers often credit their growth not just to effort, but to proximity, being around mentors, peers, or communities that challenge and inspire them. The energy of a strong environment pulls you forward. It forces you to level up your language, your habits, and your thinking. You begin to adopt the behaviors of those around you because the cost of staying average becomes too high. Sometimes This means making hard choices. You may need to distance yourself from people who drag you down or limit your growth, even if you care about them. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. You owe it to your future to protect the space around you. If you want to live at a higher standard, you need to surround yourself with people who reflect it. In the right environment, excellence becomes contagious, and settling for less becomes unthinkable. Belief is the unseen force that turns raised standards into tangible results. It acts as the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. Without belief, even the highest standards crumble under pressure because the mind does not support the actions required to maintain them. But when you believe truly, deeply that a better outcome is not just possible, but inevitable, your entire approach to life shifts. You stop hesitating, you stop doubting, you start moving with purpose. Many people set goals or raise their expectations, but they do it with hesitation in their hearts. They say they want more, but they carry the weight of uncertainty. They act with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. As a result, their efforts are inconsistent and their progress stalls, but belief removes the brake. When you act as if success is guaranteed, you stop second, guessing yourself. You take risks, speak with confidence, and show up with energy because in your mind, you've already won. This is not blind optimism. It's the deliberate cultivation of faith in yourself and in the process. It's the understanding that belief is not something you wait for, it's something you choose, even when the evidence hasn't shown up yet. In fact, belief often precedes evidence. Your subconscious mind responds to belief like a command. It begins working to align your actions, habits, and focus with the outcome you expect. When you raise your standards and back them with unshakable belief, you activate your full potential. You're no longer hoping things will work, you know they will. And in that certainty, you move faster, think clearer, and perform better. It's not magic, it's alignment, and it's how ordinary people achieve extraordinary results.